Hi and welcome. I am Jessica Brown, Mrs. Colorado Universal 2021. This is Beyond the Barbie, Powerhouse Paper Dolls, looking below the surface with beautiful women to ask who inspires the women who inspire us. Joining me is a friend of mine from back in the day. This is Cassie Hickle. She is Mrs. Kansas America 2017. Welcome. Thanks for sitting down with me today.
Of course. I'm so excited.
How is the weather in Kansas this time of year? I guess I don't even know that.
We actually just got like 6 inches of snow yesterday, and we're supposed to get up to 4 more inches tonight, which I am like crossing my fingers. I'm so jealous of the Colorado
more than we
snow.
do. Yeah.
This is the first snow we've had all winter that's like stuck more than 12 hours. So.
Oh, wow. Well, how nice then. Are your kids enjoying it?
Good. Yes, our girls were out in it all day yesterday. I don't like to play in the snow. I just like to look at it with my coffee cup. Yes, and so my girls were out in it yesterday and I cleaned the basement.
Yeah, that's how I ski, from the lodge with a coffee cup.
Yes, that would be me too. Like, I'll watch.
Yeah, it's very pretty, but it's very cold.
And wet. I don't like the combination.
I don't actually mind the cold as much when there's snow. It's when it's just bitter cold.
Yes.
That just, it feels like it serves no purpose. But I've discovered the benefit of layers.
Yeah, and we normally get just like bitter cold and wind because there's very little tree coverage in Western Kansas. And so this is a nice change. I will say that.
Yeah, I bet. I'm happy for your kids. So Cassie and I were at Mrs. America together and we became fast friends. So I would like to start off by asking, who has inspired you?
So I grew up with 3 brothers. So my mom has been my best friend kind of from day one, and she has inspired me and taught me really what it means to be a great mom and also what it means to be an excellent spouse. My family kind of moved cross country because my dad decided to make a career change, and she totally stepped out in faith and trusted that that was what God was calling him to do. And I mean, I was only 8 years old at the time, but throughout my adult life now, I've been able to see all these different connections of how my mom was literally just like, okay, I trust you. And I trust that this is, what God is calling you to do. And it was moving away from her entire family. And I mean, we knew she missed her family, but she was so strong for us. And she's just set that bar so high. So it's just been really neat to kind of see that evolve into her being a grandparent. And how she inspires my girls and how she gets to play kind of a totally different role because it's not that disciplinarian that you have to be as a parent. And she just gets to enjoy them and then allow me to be the one that now gets to be the disciplinarian. But
same here.
doing that in love and really just knowing that I'm aspiring to raise my children the way that she raised us.
I love that. So this is called Paper Dolls because each interview is linked with the one before and after by commonalities. But actually the person who inspired you is something you and I have in common. I was raised by a very strong woman who was a single mom. And so she really taught me about this independence and, what it means to be a woman. But because it was just the 2 of us, we also lived with my grandparents. And so I was raised with these 2 people who were married for 50 years. And they taught me about relationships, what it means to be a good spouse and have that connection. So it's really neat that you had both of those in your mom.
Well, and that's so cool. You got to live with like 2 totally different generations. Like that's awesome. My grandparents are in Ohio. So we moved away from them, which I know was really hard. My mom's one of 6 kids. So lots of cousins and we left a lot of family, but I'm a little bit jealous you got to be raised with your grandma. That's really neat.
It was 3 generations in one home, and I was a young mom, as you know, and then it was 4 generations in a home. So, and even now, because quarantine hit while my husband and I were on our honeymoon, so we were going to move to New Orleans, but at Disney World, we had to close everything down. So we've been quarantined with my mom. And for the past week now, my daughter has been here as well. So both my kids and my mom and all my fur babies and my husband is going crazy being smushed in a house with all these people. And I am like a pig in slop. I'm loving it.
Like, love it. Yes. I would be the same way. Like, this is amazing. Let's all get the pile together.
Like if I won the lottery, my answer would actually be to buy a block and just have everybody I love live together.
Yes.
Everybody I'll give you a house, but you have to live next to me.
Yes. Few rules.
But what you had in common with the woman before you, Heather Brooks, she's actually another pageant friend, was that you said you wouldn't change anything. Is that what you guys had in common?
Yes.
Am I right? Yes. So the question was, if you could change anything about your past, the answer would be nothing. And she has had a quite difficult past with abuse and alopecia, and she's used her trauma to move on and help others. What was your reasoning for not choosing the past?
So when I was growing up, I very much knew, exactly what I was going to do. It was black and white. I was going to college. I was going to go to med school. I was going to be a pediatrician. And then when I was 20, we found out we were expecting. And I had only finished like 2 years of college at that point. So, med school was kind of off the table, especially because of where we were at. Like, we're in Western Kansas. I knew that in order to go to the med school I wanted to go to, we would have to relocate. And that just wasn't possible with my husband's job, with his dad and everything, their family business. And I mean, we weren't married at the time. And so we faced a lot of judgment from that. And kind of just had to learn to back burner some things, which was really hard for me and my personality.
Because you're so driven and had your goals.
Yeah. And I'm very like, you have your goal, you get it, you go to the next one. That's just how I am. And so it's kind of taught me some adaptability and how to, I don't know, how to be flexible, even though I'm still not super flexible, but with like goals and dreams and realizing that it's okay to adjust your timeline a little bit. So I actually just finished my bachelor's degree in May, and it was really neat because
congratulations. I had no idea. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So I finally finished. And I got my bachelor's in just general studies because I had such a wide variety of classes. I had a lot of science classes from earlier on, and then I had some business classes. And so I got my general studies, and I'm actually going for my MBA now in healthcare administration. So I get to go back to the healthcare world, but on a business side of things. The really cool thing, though, was that the girls, my daughters, got to kind of be there with me as I was going through school. And they thought it was super cool that mommy had homework. I had other opinions on it, but I'm glad that they got to see me finish that. And it wasn't like, oh, I quit school forever because I had you. It got put on pause so I could be a mommy. And then I got to, when you were in school, I got to go to school, and it was so cool. We went together. So that was kind of neat. And I think it's just taught me that you just don't give up on stuff. I mean, you adjust and you make, arrangements, and you move on, and you still have to reach your goals. You can still reach them, even if it's not in your time frame. And I think that's been a little bit more difficult for me, but still reaching for goals that I had when I was, 18 years old. And I'm just,
absolutely.
Well,
I remember my mom getting her doctorate. So I was there every time she would finish part of her thesis. We'd go out and have a dinner together. So my childhood was watching her complete her degrees. And I think it's a commonality of people who had kids younger than they planned, to have the feeling that, no, I wouldn't change anything, even if it wasn't what I wanted, because we ended up with this gift that wasn't planned. And so I think that really changes our perspective.
Right. And I think that I've also tried really hard, just because, we had Lydia, our oldest, before we got married. I've always tried really hard to let people know that I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't do anything different because I got her. I don't ever want her to feel like she's the reason why I quit going to school, or I put it on pause, or, she was a mistake, as some people say, in pregnancies out of wedlock. But really just letting her know that I wouldn't change anything because I got you,
Right.
I don't ever want her to feel like she was a bump in the road rather than a blessing.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and this is the time of COVID. So I would like to know, if you could go anywhere right now, if we were allowed to go places right now, where would you go?
I have so many places
Me too. I don't know how to make my list, because it's just like, it'd be easier to list the places that don't interest me. There's a couple of them.
Yes. I want to go everywhere. Our family loves traveling. We actually really love going to Colorado. We love the mountains.
When was the last time you were here?
The last time we were there would have been a year ago. This month, maybe 2 years ago. It's been a little while. But I promise we'll be back next week.
All right.
If I could have like a dream trip, I would literally take an entire summer and go all over Europe. There are so many cool places to go. And I love that it's a continent and the countries are so close together and their train system like interconnects everything.
Like an hour away, you're in a different country.
Yes. And I mean, I'm in Kansas and it takes me 4 hours to get to Colorado. Like it's silly that they could just be like, oh, I'm just going to pop over to Ireland or whatever for the day.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so jealous. So I would love to just go and do that. I think it'd be so much fun. But I have so many places I want to go. I'll be, on Instagram, on travel Instagram, and I'm like, let's go there one day and let's go there.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I mentioned before we started recording that I've always wanted to teach online so I could teach anywhere. Yeah. My goal is to travel to other countries and learn their cultural dances, incorporate that into my program and broadcast live from in country. And I actually had the opportunity to start during the pandemic, ironically. And I went to Ecuador and learned cultural dances and incorporated it. So next up hopefully is India. Yes, it is my lifelong goal. So I'm glad to finally be doing it, but also because of COVID, something that many of us in this series have in common is our greatest fear. And it has been losing kids. Yours is losing someone you love before their time. I think that a lot of us have been faced with the mortality and the concern about our families, and it's really brought those to the surface. Do you feel that?
Yes. And sometimes, I mean, for me, it's my kids. Like if I were to lose one of my children early, our oldest has asthma and a whole host of issues with that. And so when COVID hit, it was like, oh my gosh, my husband's had some lung issues, so he's high risk. And I think that my whole fear in losing them is that I won't get to see, if it were a child, what they would become. And if I lose my husband, it would be, I'm on my own and I don't want to do this on my own. Like I chose you for a reason. I want you here. But I also it's not that I have a fear of dying myself. I think I just have the fear of missing my kids growing up or them not having me while they're growing up. So it's definitely brought the mortality very, very close to the surface. And we've been very fortunate not to have anybody that we love that we've lost due to COVID. We've had several people be diagnosed, and then there's that, fear for an extended period of time. But we've been very fortunate and blessed, but it's scary.
Yeah, and it's touched everyone at this point. 3 people in my immediate circle have had it, and 1 has passed. So it's a tough time for the entire world. And like I said before we started recording, I just really hope that this unifies us. That we're going to come out better. And something else that you and I share, my platform is to be more, do more. And I talk about giving of yourself. So, I donate dance lessons, and I'm really big on blood, organ, tissue, hair donation. And you have this approach to life that I believe comes from your platform. So tell us about your platform and how you got there.
So let's see here. In 2017, December of 2017, I donated my kidney. I didn't initially know the person. We had a mutual friend who kind of had reached out via Facebook and was wanting or just sharing this man's story. And I had just had our youngest, so I knew my blood type. And I just reached out, said, hey, I feel like I'm supposed to be a donor to you. Total God thing. I don't even know why I sent the message. Literally, Mason got home from work. I was like, so I did a thing today. I'm so sorry I didn't tell you first. But it was probably 9 months later before I really got in touch with him, just due to really some different timing things that got in the way.
Life.
And we ended up being a 98% match, which was crazy. And so the way they set it up when they do the surgery is I'm in one operating room and he's in another, and I go in first, and they literally take my kidney, and then I like to think that they do a bank transport where you just suction it up. That's not how it goes. That's what I'm picturing in my head. And it goes to them, and within as soon as he was connected, they hadn't even closed him up yet, and it was already making urine and doing what they were wanting it to do. So it was crazy.
Oh wow.
Awesome. But that led to Mrs. Kansas and really just wanting to be an advocate, not necessarily just for living organ donors, because you can donate plasma, blood, bone marrow, part of your liver, because it regenerates, which is crazy.
That's what I'm trying to do is the liver.
It's amazing. The human body is just amazing. So you can donate things when you're alive, but you can also just be an organ donor when you pass, which I think
Yes.
has a lot of misconceptions tied to it. And I answered a
Yes.
lot of questions. When I was doing a lot of my speaking engagements, people would be like, well, but I've heard, XYZ. And I got to dispel some of those, which was really great. And so I've just kind of
Some
been an
are really
advocate for
out there.
that.
Some concerns are really out there that if you
Oh,
sign up
so out
and somebody
there.
needs it, they're going to come get it. Did you get that one?
That they're going to come get it from you?
Yeah. If you're still alive, that they're going to call upon your organs if you sign up to donate. Because that's what people asked me.
I haven't heard that one, but I heard from several people actually that if you're an organ donor, they won't try to save you. Like they'll just let you.
Oh,
And
I haven't heard that one, but that seems the most natural concern.
Like that's
interesting.
highly
but that's not how it works.
And it goes completely against their code of ethics. Plus, they don't know if your organs are in good enough shape to donate anyways. So that wouldn't make any sense.
Yes.
But that was the one I think I got the most often.
So then let me ask you, through these speaking engagements, what do you want your legacy to be?
It sounds crazy, but I honestly just want my legacy to live on through my kids, because it's been really fun to see how they've picked up on this, because they were younger when I did this, but we still have that connection with that family. And so they know him as Daddy Rich, who got mommy's kidney, and Mama Pam, and like they basically adopted us. It's a wonderful setup. Like literally couldn't have asked for a better family. But so it's been really cool for them to learn that and how that works. And as my oldest has gotten older and more interested, we've explained how you can donate an organ and it works in another person. And so I'm just hoping that what I am teaching as my kids hear it, that they'll also go out and speak to that. And it's like I said, I've just really kind of enjoyed the dispelling the truths or the misconceptions around it. And getting the opportunity to just share my story. It's been shared multiple times, and I love telling it. It's amazing what God can do, and the timing of everything is just incredible.
Remember that starfish story, like the girl throwing starfish back in the ocean, and the guy says, "You can't possibly make a difference," and she says, "I did to that one."
Right.
Remember that story? Yeah. I always talk about not just like the ripple effect, but the domino effect, where you not only are doing good, but then you teach the next person. Like if that girl talked to the old man and about the importance of it and got him to join, and then he got someone else to join. And that's how you make lasting change. And that's what you've done with your kids, that not only are you out there talking about this, but then you've talked about the importance of teaching other people the value of it. So your kids are going to go out and do this.
Well, and I think the important thing too is that if an individual has decided to be an organ donor, then that needs to be communicated to family, spouse, friends, whoever. Because more often than not, when you're making that decision, that final decision, you're not the one making it. And so you need to make your family aware of that. And I think that's another thing that some people just don't really understand. They'll get to the point where it's like, well, are they an organ donor? And they're like, I have no idea.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That's really important to know.
It's really letting those around you and whoever's in charge of your care know that is important.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me. This was so much fun. Yeah. I knew we were going to go over on time because you and I just,
sorry.
We love our little chit chats. And next time you're in Colorado, you have to look me up.
Oh, I will.
Okay. Deal? Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I'm Jessica Brown, Mrs. Colorado Universal 2021. This is Beyond the Barbie Powerhouse Paper Dolls. See you next time.